Self-managing an Airbnb is a lot of work. Just like any sort of property management when you have an apartment, except you have tenants that constantly turn. So if your maid doesn't show up or, you have a handyman that won't show up and you're offering it's a little more high stakes than even just normal property management, which also is a lot of work. You can have problems with bookings, people can't get in, people leave it trashed, their deposit's not big enough. There's a million things that can happen because not only is it just like normal property management when you are renting out your home or your apartment in the longer run, it's exponentially more difficult than traditional property management where you have longer term tenants because you have a constant churn guests that need new access to the building, but don't understand how the Wi-Fi. What you have to do is really make sure that if you're gonna be managing it on your own, it's not worth it unless you're managing at least 5 properties and it's your full-time job. When I see people managing Airbnbs themselves, it's because they're fully dedicated to it and they can put enough time in to do it right. Managing a one-off Airbnb unit will just not be worth the time. On the other hand, the biggest mistake I see people make is hiring the wrong mom and pop, unsophisticated management company. Because as soon as your ratings drop on Airbnb or as soon as you get bad reviews, your occupancy will drop and your rates will drop. And that's something that is very hard to reverse. So if you don't manage your Airbnb well or you hire the wrong company, it can be very fatal for your investment. I have built over 150 Airbnb units. I have another 250 under construction. I've worked with many management companies. I've spoken to the best institutional Airbnb managers down to the smallest mom and pops. I've had my own projects where I've managed my own Airbnbs or had management companies manage them. So I've seen every breadth and understood how management works over the last 8 to 10 years. I've just learned a lot of lessons in terms of owning Airbnb units, using them myself personally, managing them, and having management companies run them. The last 4 units that I owned in my building, I had being managed by a company. I was the owner of the building, and I would have thought that the management company would have, given me some VIP treatment. I walked up to my unit one night, and I rarely stayed there. This is in downtown Nashville. My husband and I now live in the suburbs, but we keep some units in downtown, one for the investment, but two, we have family come. We like to go see concerts. We like to go to the symphony. It's nice having a unit downtown, staycation. So I walk up into my unit. The door is completely ajar, so anybody could walk in. It's like, that's weird. All the stuff can be taken. My frame TV can be taken off the wall, fine. It's in downtown. It's not like it's out in some neighborhood. I walk into the room that's ajar, just getting ready for the next morning, looking at the kitchen. There's no coffee. That's probably the most important aspect of any morning or experience of anywhere I stay is what kind of coffee there is. There was no coffee, which is supposed to be offered with the unit. I just started noticing things. I looked in all of the doors. I looked in all of the kitchen uh, cabinets and noticed there were 5 plates and 7 glasses and 6 wine glasses and all these weird, like, it just felt very undone, like it wasn't really kept up, I mean, if they're taking inventory and charging the guests that break things accordingly, then they should be replaced and replenished. The TV was a over $2,000 frame TV. The frame was broken. There was a bunch of deferred maintenance. The faucet in my bathroom was rattling. There were just some things that were just basic fixes. And if I'm paying someone 18% of the total revenue, that unit alone, I believe, was making over $100,000 a year. So if I'm paying someone $20,000 to manage the Airbnb, and that doesn't include that, they're still charging the guest cleaning fees and a bunch of fees. So this is just to, put it on Airbnb and handle the maintenance and cleaning, which they also charge me for. I was really pissed when I walked in and saw these things, and I thought, wow, if I'm the owner of the building and I've owned 4 or 5 units here, I can't imagine how other people's units are being managed. And so I looked at that and I go, okay, and normally if a hotel company is charging like 5%, if most management companies are charging 18%, there's a big discrepancy here. Um, and so that's when I think that I saw an opportunity and also really started diving into really looking at this management. And the problem with it is that there's so much inefficiency in managing units spread across an entire city that you get a lot of these inconsistencies, and they're really, it's just not a professional experience. And people want that. People want to be able to stay in an Airbnb and have access to a kitchen and have access to a laundry and amenities, but not pay and have a, hotel experience. But they want that professionalism. So it's a niche that's missing in the market. And if you can provide that, you will do well. So here are the 5 things you need to know to make sure you don't make mistakes in Airbnb investing. First, choose a property that you will want to stay in and use. This is just something that will really help. You will not be as upset in your investment if it's something that you can use. You can take your family there, you can have your friends and family there. Invest in a location that you enjoy going to and will get personal use out of it. Because if the market softens or something changes, it's an asset that you will appreciate more and not just be look at as a pure investment, because Airbnb investing is a very personal thing, and you will do better if it's something that you like and enjoy and understand, and it's a market that you like and enjoy and understand. I know people that have invested in markets that they were going to, St. Michael's up in the Chesapeake, and they went every summer and they sailed there, and now they have 3 or 4 Airbnbs that are really successful because they understand that local beat of the market, and they understand what people want, and they love going there and using it, and their passion is poured into it. You know, invest in a place or a property that you like, that you understand, and that you will use. Do your research on the management company. There's a lot of mom and pop operators out there that grow quickly because Airbnb's gotten so popular, but they're not set up to have a scalable business. And so the user experience drops, and that will affect your ratings and occupancy. And it is very, very hard to come back from that once you have bad ratings and bad experiences for your guests. So you need to do a lot of due diligence when you're talking to management companies. I personally really like using management companies that have a lot of autonomy for me as the owner and investor. I think that there's a lot of management companies in ski towns and that are associated with hotel brands, more like hotel condos, that'll charge up to 50%, if you can believe it, of revenue. And I just don't think that's a good business model. The whole point of Airbnb is that you're empowering people to make their own income on their real estate assets. So when you choose a management company, I think 20% or less is a very good range of fee. I personally, in our buildings, we're offering 12% because we're able to use a professional hotel management company. You want to make sure they've been in business a long time, that they have really good ratings. I would look for all of the units that they manage, go online, look at the ratings of the units, look at people's guest experiences before entrusting them with your property. Because there's so many of these businesses that have popped up, and I just watched even when the pandemic happened, they all dried up, and they just weren't lasting businesses. So you want to use people that have a lot of care and that have the track record and experience to make sure that you're getting the most out of your investment. Find a niche for what is missing in your market. We started in Nashville. It's a bachelorette capital. One of our best performing units is the Dolly Parton themed unit. We offered something that was unique and special and photographable. And if you end up delivering a product that's just commoditized and just sort of bland in any soft market, that will just underperform. So you really, really wanna find a niche, and I've seen people express this in many ways. I mean, we have a ton of different types of units in all of our buildings. We have sports themed units that sports enthusiasts love, or if they have a younger group of boys coming all for a game, they'll all want to stay there. So it really just depends. You need to find your niche for your market and see what's really missing and develop something unique that's kitschy, because that is what always performs well. People always want to stay in something special. If you know, if your town or city is known for a certain thing, make a unit around that. If you're in Kentucky and, you can make a bourbon themed unit. I've seen that done where people have, cards and bourbon and leather and it's all themed. So I would choose a niche and theme that is missing in your market or that is performing really well in your market that you can replicate, that is reflective of something that people need and want in that market. If you're buying an existing Airbnb unit, you want to make sure you're getting accurate financials of that unit that are really reflective and incorporate all of the expenses that need to be paid when you're going to be owning and operating that unit, including insurance, taxes, all of the management fees. Really get updated financials and make sure to stay in that unit blindly. Don't tell them it's you. Go secret shop your own unit. Go secret shop the management company that you're doing research on. I was gonna invest in a whole building once. I went and stayed in it myself. It was a horrific experience, and I just I decided to develop my entire own brand of Airbnb because I went to go try to stay in another managed building. So, go experience what it is like. If you're gonna be Airbnb investing, stay in your own Airbnbs. Try to figure out what the pain points are and address them. Is it a total pain to book? Do people need to go far to pick up the keys? Do they not have XYZ in the unit. Like, things that you would need and want are probably things that your guests are gonna need and want, and so go experience it yourself. Do not over leverage your unit. That means you're not taking a really high loan out on your unit in terms of percentage. I recommend, 50 to 60%. The reason being that Airbnb is seasonal, so depends on where you are. In Nashville, January, February, March is really cold, and that's a slow season for us. In Arizona, that might be the summertime. But there will be points where cash flow, much drier, and you don't wanna be having to feed money into your unit if the market changes. So, don't ever over leverage your unit and make sure you have enough cash if you're gonna be participating in Airbnb investing to make proper improvements as needed and, keep a cash flowing investment. I mean, that's the key, just not over leveraging your unit. I hope this video was helpful for you if you're considering investing in first time in an Airbnb property or you already have Airbnb units that are being managed. If you'd like to see more of what we've developed after a decade of owning, operating, and building Airbnb buildings, please check out our new brand called The Modernist.